How to study for the Project Management Qualification PMQ, whether you're following a classroom, online or distance learning version. Basically, it's what are you letting yourselves in for? To start, we must clarify what examiners look for in the examination. Then looking for you in your answers to demonstrate knowledge and understanding. These words are often used by the examiners explaining what they're looking for. Knowledge, it's outlined in the syllabus. There are 67 assessment criteria, and you'll find these in our study guide at the beginning of each chapter. They are all derived from the APM Body of Knowledge, version 7, which was published in 2019. As of April 2020, this is a new syllabus which comes into effect in May next month. Secondly, they're looking for understanding, and it's hard to pin people down on what this means. The best I can do is the links between topics. Now, whereas knowledge you tend to learn, understanding I would strongly recommend you don't try and learn. You ask yourself questions, you work it out, and the questions you ask are who, what, when, where, why, how. So let me give you an example. A question on the business case. Who is responsible for writing it? A sponsor. When is it done? First phase of the project life cycle. Why is it done? To obtain approval of the project by senior management. What does it contain? It contains essentially a cost-benefit analysis to demonstrate that the benefits outweigh the costs in the light of expected uncertainties or risks. So that's the core business case. Second phase, the life cycle, you will develop a much more detailed business case. Do you see the point? Ask the questions and you're bringing out understanding of the business case. How can you acquire knowledge? The Management Skills Centre offers 3 approaches: classroom, online, distance learning. 4 days of classroom training. We divide that into 2 weeks, 2 days a week for 2 weeks. Online, well, we repeat this every 2 weeks. 4 mornings of flipped learning webinars, and I'll explain what I mean by flipped learning in a later slide. So we don't do as much online work as we do on the classroom. Distance learning, you're studying on your own. All delegates have got access to the MSc study guide, which is divided into 16 chapters to cover the assessment criteria. And we also have an online learning management system, a Moodle system that many people may have met at university. This contains all the useful information you may need. A copy of the study guide in PDF form, video podcasts, you can see slides, hear the tutor explaining them, copies of all APM documentation, and so on. Now to talk about examination preparation, which involves developing the understanding. Firstly, the study guide's got a section on exam procedures, how it works, advice on selection of questions, managing time within the 3-hour exam, and how to develop your answers. Another part of the study guide, Appendix 4, contains 32 exam-type questions. 16 come from the APM sample paper, but the 16 new questions. And together these cover 64 of the 67 assessment criteria. They only contain the required knowledge. They do not contain, in the appendix, the understanding. You've got to work those out. And that's what happens at both the online webinars and the classroom sessions. One tries to work out the links between topics that you add to the basic knowledge required by the question. Now, to help you in writing your answers, I strongly recommend, I would say it's essential, that you write an answer to one of these sample questions in 15 minutes. You can spend minutes planning your answer in advance. You can write open book or closed book. It doesn't matter because I'm not interested in the marks you get for it. The whole point of writing this answer in 15 minutes, time yourself carefully, is to work out, is your writing style appropriate for the examination? Some people write slowly, thoughtfully, and they find 15 minutes has gone and they haven't finished the question. Well, then they've got to change their style of writing. And in extreme, you develop using bullet points. You don't write sentences in paragraphs. You bullet your answer. If you write much quicker, well, then you can write another type of answer. Now, your style has to be developed by you. So this is something you can do on your own. And lastly, the MSc will ensure that if you submit 5 questions or answers to 5 questions, these will be marked to examination standard and returned to you, so you've got some idea how you're doing. How to approach studying when you start off. The first thing is to make sure you understand the terminology. If you've done the Project Fundamentals qualification, PFQ, you will have met this. If you haven't done PFQ, then you need to read some of the early chapters at a minimum in the study guide. Now an explanation of what we mean by a flipped learning webinar. The traditional classroom session involved explanation of the topic, and there usually wasn't time to engage fully with the topic. And you were given homework at school to answer questions relating to the topic. Now, flipped learning webinar is the other way around. You're expected to acquire the knowledge on your own and spend the sessions online discussing answers to questions, examples, applying concepts to situations, engaging with questions about the topic. Do not expect the flipped learning webinars to introduce you to topics. They won't. They will assume that you've done some work. Now, the traditional classroom sessions that we still put on will try and do both. They will explain the required knowledge and also discuss examples and so on. That's why the traditional classroom sessions we offer are twice as long as the flipped learning webinars. And then thirdly, the exam preparation, either classroom online or recordings of the online sessions, but primarily it's going to be at least 25 hours on your own. APM recommend that in total you need to spend at least 60 hours working on the material before you take the examination.